You know what? Time for kickoff for the Kaiser Southeastern game. The sun had already gone down. Kickoff had 79 degrees as the official weather for West Palm Beach. And, for Sioux City, Iowa, and let's say Baldwin City, Kansas, let's go say Dickinson, North Dakota, not so much. As a matter of fact, 79 degrees, at least for Dickinson and Sioux City, you couldn't probably combine their temperatures and get anywhere close to that. And so in solidarity with most of the rest of the country, I'm wearing the jacket here tonight for college football this week. Actually, that's only partially true. The heat went out in the studio, and the cold front has finally made its way to southeastern Oklahoma. So it's a little chilly in here tonight. That's okay. We're going to bring the heat anyway around, and I'm going to do so by bringing back a guest who we've already had on this season, our first repeat guest for the regular season. That's Tom Kautz, who is the play-by-play voice for the Benedictine Ravens. And your team, Tom, got the win on Saturday. And, of course, it was a big win anyway, but it was a big win. Tell us about the victory. Ravens get the 31-10 win over the Baker Wildcats on the road.
Joey, thank you for letting me come on here this evening. I always appreciate it. Happy to do it. And, for Benedictine Baker's a long, long rivalry. It goes back to before them both being in the Heart of America Athletic Conference, which came in 92, and it predates that. But for these two teams, this game meant a lot for a handful of reasons. For Baker, you always hate to say they needed it more and wanted it more, but for Baker, had they won that game, they were in the national tournament. Yeah. I mean, that win would have guaranteed them the championship of the Heart of America Athletic Conference South Division, and then the guaranteed playoff berth that comes with that. Having not won, now, Benedictine has still got to go on and win next week against Mid-America to clinch that for themselves. But now with that, Baker falls away. But tremendous ball game for the Wildcats. Not only did they have the emotion of wanting to win that championship and wanting to get to the postseason, but it's the last home game of the year. It's senior day. It's got all the pageantry that goes with it. The families from all over the country who'd come in. And the game started off with tons of emotion, and Baker reflected that, got the ball, drove downfield, got up 7-0, and you thought, man, these guys have come ready to play. And they had. But before the game was over, Benedictine just beat them up and wore them down, and the Ravens continued to find ways to play well and win.
Yeah, and we'll talk about the implications, too, for Benedictine in just a moment, Tom. But the last time you were on here, I want to say thank you for coming back, because you were so gracious to come on and talk about a game in which your team lost. So that meant a lot to me that you came and visited here on a Sunday night to talk about that game. Of course, that was the game against Grandview, and that was the last time that the Ravens have lost. Rattled off 8 straight wins since then. Tell us about the season for Benedictine now as it's gone along. You have the one in the L column, but still – this is a top 5 team, and it's pretty much shown it through the rest of the year.
Joey, they have just absolutely buckled down. And I'm going to tell you, coaches say, oh, we're getting better and we're improving, and we want to be playing our best football at the end of the year. All those old saws that they bring out. But I'm going to tell you, this team has actually done that every week. And I've seen them for a long time. Every week they improve, and every week they surprise me with what they do new or what they do different, or how this team has morphed into what they are today. Earlier in the year, they were a throwing football team, and Jackson Dooley was going for 300, 400 yards passing, 10 receivers, and of course, if a game catches the ball. Well, as teams adjust, and coaches are smart, teams are smart today, and they scout you out, and they know what you're going to do. This team has changed, and suddenly, yesterday, we have Xavier Ugorji run for 198 yards. We got Dalton Witherspoon runs for another 96. And now Dalton, he's the starting running back at the beginning of the year, got hurt in the first quarter of the game at Grandview, the first quarter game 2, and is just now getting healthy and coming back. So you're getting a huge rushing game developed now, and don't even have your starting running back in it yet. So this team has shown that it's many faceted, and it continues to amaze me.
Really quick, I want to give a shout out to Dave and to Leo, to Robert and to Matt, who are already in the chat tonight. And if you're watching us live, hey, listen, stop by the chat. Let us know who you are, from where you're watching, and what team you're going to be cheering for. We have a good idea, all the folks who are regulars in the chat tonight. Of course, it's always a great day to be a Comet. according to Matt. But we're talking about the Ravens right now with Tom Kautz, who's the play-by-play guy for Benedictine. Let's stay with those running backs for just a moment, too, because you mentioned that. Okay, let's numbers there. 25 carries for Ugorji, 198 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns on the day. And, Tom, if you have a backfield like that's in full strength, both of those guys were making some noise last year, and Benedictine made the run all the way to the national semifinals, and had that opportunity playing the championship game too. And they were both strong then. So how good does it look with them both back there?
I think it looks really good. But Joy, here's where I come from. And again, I talk to people, I kind of kid people, and we were talking a little bit ago. I'm like a really old guy. So I sometimes have old guy ways of looking at stuff. Okay. And you could give me really good running backs, and these two guys and the rest of the running backs are really good running backs, but they are valueless if you don't have the guys out in front of them. And Benedictine's offensive line has been absolutely fantastic this year. And not only is the offensive line really good, but the lines on both sides, offense and defense, are incredibly deep. And that is part of the reason that Benedictine is so successful, particularly last week against Baker. The defensive front four, when they are in for a few plays, maybe getting a little winded, the Ravens bring in a full front four that is absolutely as good as them. I'm going to tell you, those 4 guys could start for 8 or 9 teams in this conference, every one of them. And they will absolutely wear you down. So those great running backs are made even better running backs by the line work in front of them.
Okay, well, clearly I don't fit the mold of a good lineman, offensive, defensive, it doesn't matter. But, man, I have a lot of respect. So I appreciate you bringing that up, too, because it is a big deal. And it's a great segue. You're a good I was about to say a good old radio guy. You've already said that, so I'm not going to be throwing any shade your way on that. However, knowing this, the power of a good segue. So with that, talking about the line, they've been able to protect very well for Jackson Dooley, and Dooley has put up some good numbers this year. You mentioned that maybe the rushing numbers are a little higher now than what they were, but Dooley is the all-time leader now in passing yards for Benedictine, well past the 7,000 mark. He may be close to 8,000 by now. You may have that number on hand, but Dooley has continued to lead this team well.
Yeah, and as you say, every week he makes that record, rewrites it, and makes it bigger, and makes it harder to get beaten again someday, which all records are made to be beaten, but he has been absolutely fantastic. This line has given him great protection, and the stable of receivers that he's got has been absolutely fantastic. And then Benedictine has used guys out of the backfield. They have used the tight end position extremely well, and they've got a couple of guys in at the tight end spot who catch passes and catch. 2 of the 4 they'll catch that day might be for touchdowns. Got a redshirt freshman in Titan Osborne who's fantastic. And I have been kidding Coach. Coach likes to throw the football. He came from a really good program, won 2 national championships in Division II as a player, as a quarterback. So he understands the throwing game. But I've been kidding him. They've got a guy who, Tyler Watson, who's a tight end. But I keep asking him, have you told Tyler that you're really not a tight end, Tyler? You're a fullback? Is that a secret that he probably shouldn't know? Because Tyler will sometimes now line up in the backfield as a fullback in an I formation. Maybe he's going to be on a wing. Maybe they're going to split him out a little bit. Maybe, they're going to do lots of things, but he is running the ball. He's catching the ball. He's lead blocking. And, Joey, I think that's kind of the definition of a fullback.
Yeah, I think you're right. And we don't see enough fullback.
No.
In these offenses these days. It's always fun to get to watch a player play that. And of course, I'm sure you're right. There are a number of tight ends. I'm trying to recall which coach was telling me earlier this year or back in the summer. There are a couple of players, one of them in particular, who was a tight end for a while. And he said, Coach, I'm a fullback. And he made his way as a starter because he proved himself to be a solid fullback. And they brought that back into a number of packages. So I think that's really cool. Shout out to Sean, who says the Hart Conference is loaded, not only with the Ravens, but the Vikings. Those 2 teams met a little earlier. Could they meet again in the playoffs? I think both teams are going to be there. Coach, Tom, we were talking about coaches. One of the things about yesterday's game, the weather. Now, I realize it wasn't snow like in Sioux City and other places where, the snow was coming down, but chilly. and rainy at times and windy too. Talk about the weather, and was that something that helped the defense?
I think the weather, and it was the wind was howling out of the northwest. We had it, 20 plus miles an hour. It was like that almost the entire game. And it was cold, rained early. Then the sun kind of broke out, but it was never like a warming sun, The iguanas were falling out of the trees in Baldwin City still. So it was not that warm. But did the weather help it? I don't know. I think that the teams were focused enough that the weather was, maybe a little bit of a distraction. I don't think it was really much of a factor in the course of that ball game. But I'm going to tell you what it allowed us to do. Gus and I, who broadcast the game, we get the opportunity when we go to Baker because the facility at Liston Stadium is such that not enough room for everybody. So we get to sit in the stands on the visitor side in the middle of the crowd. And now usually, and you've been to games and broadcast, we are really isolated and insulated from the crowd. I mean, we're inside and you can't hear me, you can't see me, wave out through the window and it's all that. But it was a joy to be in the middle of those raucous cheering fans who were having a great time and we're ringing the cowbells and we're yelling at the players and cheering them on. The real football atmosphere and energy that was around us was kind of a real treat for us.
That is fun. And you know what? I know you have a ton of stories as long as you've been broadcasting, and this is wrapping up year 25 of broadcasting for me. And Tom, I have some stories as well of being inside the booth and outside the booth in some precarious locations. We'll just leave it at that and maybe tell those stories during the off season. But okay, a final thing, and I'll let you go. Thanks again for being with us here on a Sunday night, and a shout out to Charles, who's made it into the chat tonight as well. Benedictine 9-1 now. They're 5-1 in divisional play, 5-0 in divisional play, and they have one more game left. It's Mid-American Nazarene, which, by the way, has given the Raven fits in recent years. I mean, it's that has been quite a season finale for the Ravens as well. A loss, and it's a three-way tie. I believe, and I said this last night, we here at Midwest Sports Net, if it were election coverage, we're calling it for Benedictine anyway with the tiebreakers. But that having been said, the Ravens want to go and get the win one way or the other and win it outright. Go ahead and take that, not let it be a three-way tie again, like it's been in recent years. So talk about this matchup with Mid-American Nazarene, and Pioneers under new coach Cordova are coming in, but they're still seeing success as well.
Yeah, they're obviously playing really well. And for Benedictine and Baker and Mid-America, it has been a three-ring circus for the past handful of years. Baker beats Mid-America, Benedictine beats Baker, Mid-America beats Benedictine. And It's been a three-way tie. So all of them are saying, we're the champions of the South. And while I'm going to say, okay, fine, you can order your rings, I want to be the guy selling the rings and getting that commission because everybody gets a ring. I'm ready for one team to be the crowned champion. And this is what's going to happen on Saturday. And I think that Benedictine is also kind of in that camp and wants to be able to say, not only are we the champion, we are the sole champion.
Yeah, and if that's the case, I don't think there's any doubt they would be the lone team from the South to make it into the postseason, be playing for the rest of November at that point in time for sure. Tom Kautz, where do people find you? And if they want to listen to that final game of the regular season, and should Benedictine be playing beyond, spoiler alert, they're going to be playing beyond. You want to hear Tom Kautz on the call for the Ravens? Where do they go?
Shameless plug time, Joey. Okay. If you're up in anywhere in Northeast Kansas, Northwest Missouri, and up in Iowa, KAIR. It's 93.7 FM. It's like real radio station. It's not just like a stream station. But if you are, and we've got friends who listen in California. We got friends that listen overseas and in Sweden and in Japan. And you can pick us up online, and you can go to mscsports.net. And there are several stations that our ownership group has, and it's MSC. It's Many Signals Communication. So mscsports.net. Click listen live and click the KAIR, and we are on there. It is all free, and there's a fantastic MSC app, MSC radio app, and it's a one click on your phone and you're there.
All right. Well, I do want to hear, and I'm looking forward to listening to your call, which, by the way, I have heard before a number of times. And man, you and Gus do a great job. Just I will say that for sure. You all do a good job, and it's going to be, it's a good solid listen if you get a chance to hear him.
Joy, you're very kind. Gus puts in all the work, man. He does the charts, right?
Oh, those are important.
And I just show up. I'm the looks, and he's the brawn.
and laminated no less, man.
Oh yeah, no.
I mean, you're
we
bringing
knew
the
it might
goods.
rain. We're
You're
ready.
okay. You're bringing the goods on that one. All right, Tom. Thank you very much for being with us here on the Sunday night. Tom Kautz, voice of the Benedictine Ravens, who are, as far as we are concerned here on Midwest Sportsnet, playing not their final game of the year, although it's the final regular season game next Saturday against Mid-America Nazarene. Tom, I'll let you go. Thank you very much for being with us tonight.
Thank you for the invitation. Always happy to join you.
God bless you, sir. All right, we're going to let him go and live his Sunday night. For the rest of you all, hey, thanks for spending some of your Sunday night with me. And let's run this down really quickly. Dave is giving a shout-out to the Stangs, who did get the win on Saturday. Leo, I hope that you enjoyed the Benedictine Open 2-hour broadcast tonight. And the Ravens, again, getting the win, 31-10 over Baker. Robert, good evening, Robert. Glad you're here tonight. I know you're probably not going to be able to make the next broadcast live because we have some programming changes for the next 2 weeks because there are broadcasts to do. Volleyball, soccer, different things that are here on the docket. We'll talk about that a little bit later on as Matt, of course, it's always a good day to be a Comet. And Sean, yeah, you're right. Hart Conference is loaded with those two teams. It may be just those two teams, though, that move on into the postseason. Charles, Graceland's going to be an interesting team next season and a big part of that Hart Conference as well. I think so, and I'm looking forward to getting to see the production and the improvement over the offseason, of course, hopefully going back to full strength there, and shout out there as well. All right, here we go. Leo, yeah, you did. Thank you very much. Thanks. I'm glad you guys are watching tonight. All right, let's do this. Let's go first to what we talked about briefly last night. We're going to run through this. We'll talk about it again at the end. But I'm going to bring this up here really quickly. And this is what we're down to. No automatic bid has been given or earned, in the Appalachian Conference just yet. These two teams are yet to play, and it's the season finale. And the schedule makers in the Appalachian did a fantastic job putting that at the end of the season this year as opposed to at the start of the season in each of the previous 2 years. Lots to look forward to. Frontier West is locked up. The Yotes are going. The Diggers are going. That much is certain. Great Plains, Dort, and Morningside are going to be facing off against one another in the GPAC on Saturday. A playoff spot on the line. Likely both those teams are going. I don't see how that doesn't happen, but we're talking about automatic qualifying bids here. The Hart going to be represented in the north by Grandview. Likely, I believe it's a done deal by Benedictine in the south, although it still has to play out. Now, obviously, if Benedictine gets the win, they are clearly in control of their own destiny no matter what, and they're taking on Mid-America Nazarene at home on Saturday. The Bissell is going to be represented by Friends. Kessinger represented by Evangel this year. Midwest, well, in theory, it could be Marion. They're definitely in control of their own destiny, the Knights, but they do take on St. Xavier on Saturday on the road. If St. Xavier wins, there would be a three-way tie at the top of the Midwest. We'll see how that shakes out. Mideast, same thing. Indiana Wesleyan in control of its own destiny, taking on Siena Heights team, who will be playing at home and in the final regular season game in program history. A lot on the line there. However, due to the Siena Heights loss to Taylor's in the mix if there were a three-way tie. So we'll follow this. Mid-South, Campbellsville is the only team completely in control of its own destiny. It, by the way, is the team that we picked to win the Mid-South here on Midwest Sportsnet at the start of the year. So we're going to be neutral, but, cheering on the pick. Yeah, Campbellsville at Georgetown. Oh, by the way, 35 meetings between these two. Georgetown's won 30 of the previous 35 meetings. So it's no easy task for the Tigers. OUAZ beat Texas Wesleyan. We'll talk about this game a little bit later on as well. The Spirit is in control of its own destiny, but they're taking on Louisiana Christian. And we do have a breakdown of what this looks like for the margin of victory or loss or point differential among the three. It's going to be tough for Louisiana Christian to win and then get the automatic qualifying bid. But we'll talk about that more later. Could be a three-way tie, but the Spirit in control of their own destiny. Should they get the win, they get the AQ. And finally to the Sun, where Kaiser had a big second half over Southeastern at home in very nice weather in West Palm Beach. And the Seahawks get the win, take the conference crown and the AQ out of the Sun. So that's what the automatic qualifiers look like. We'll talk a little bit more about those later on, maybe mention a few things about at-large. Still, penultimate week in the books for the NAIA, and there's a lot more to be done. So three Hart North teams made some good progress. Graceland, William Penn, Peru State. Peru State finally got a win, but they actually had more touchdowns than turnovers. It's going to make all the difference in the world. And several teams are going to have to reload in the north. So let's go ahead. Let's talk about those teams and run down what happened this week. Kaiser, 34-23, now 6-2 all-time over Southeastern, 25-0 all-time in the Sun Conference. Southeastern led 17-14 at the half, 17-17 in the third quarter. Big push in the fourth quarter for the Seahawks. Had stellar play from Shea Spencer, who was 19-28 passing, 274 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Jaden Miller, 19 carries for 98 yards, 1 rushing touchdown. Dylan Simon stepped up, and he had a big night as well. 17 carries, 89 yards on the ground for him. Elisha Edwards, 7 catches, 113 receiving yards, and a receiving touchdown. And Malik Raz had 4 tackles, but also a 41-yard pick six that was really fun to watch once he brought that in and pretty much secured the game for the Seahawks. Kaiser now 9-0 on the season. Ave Maria gets a big win over Florida Memorial, and it was, I think it was a bigger win than what the final score says, 44-39. Ave Maria going to 3-6 on the year, and let me say again, missed extra point attempts are big. This played out pretty much in real time on Saturday. Florida Memorial scored 33 straight after falling down 7-0, scored 33 straight. There's a difference between straight and unanswered. And then the extra point attempt was taken back. It was missed, blocked, taken back, 97 yards. And the Gyrenes got the 2 points from that. So now they're trailing only 33-9. And after that, 5 straight touchdowns were scored. 4 of those were Jaden George passes, and then an interception, a pick six that was taken back. Let's talk about Jaden George again for a moment. We mentioned him midway through the season as he had stepped in and gotten his first start. George is someone who Ave Maria found. He was able to find his way in there. Grad student, played at 3 different Division I schools. He was a part of the rosters at 3 different Division I schools. Didn't see action for Bowling Green. At Miami for 2 seasons, didn't see action there. Florida Atlantic for a season, didn't see action there. No time until now, and he's made the most of it. 11 of 22 passing, 145 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, no picks on the day. And by the way, Darren Van Horn, a blocked point-after attempt, returned it 97 yards for the score and also had an 83-yard pick six, 4 tackles, and that punt return, another punt return, by the way, for 9 yards. What a night for Darren Van Horn. Big night for him for Ave Maria. Warner gets the win, 35-27 over Thomas, and I think Warner had enough of being beaten by Thomas. The Nighthawks' only 2 wins in program history came at the expense of the Warner Royals. Not the case on Saturday. Warner's now 2-7 on the season. Jamarian Robinson, 31 carries, 292 rushing yards, and 3 rushing touchdowns. Big night for him. Michael Ryan had a passing touchdown and a rushing touchdown for Warner. In the loss, Quintravious Hunter, 18 for 27 passing, 258 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown as well. Thomas's losing streak is now up to 15 games. Their last win was against Warner last year. St. Thomas, a big victory over Weber International. The Bobcats are now 6-3 with a 55-21 win on Saturday. Keeley Watson, big night for him, 26 of 35 passing, 398 passing yards, 6 passing touchdowns, but threw 2 picks as well. And through the Sun Conference, there were a lot of names that could have made it into our top 5 performances list at the end. Watson's wasn't there because of the 2 picks, but what a night by him. Jaden Fox-Harrington, 6 catches, 154 yards, 2 receiving touchdowns. David Hayes had 2 receiving touchdowns too. To the Appalachian, Kentucky Christian falls to Pikeville. U-Pike scored 17 straight, then Kentucky Christian scored 20 straight, and that was the score at the half, 20-17. It went back and forth until U-Pike took control in the fourth quarter. Amon Williams, we're starting to call his name a little bit more as the season's gone on. He was out last week against Union Commonwealth. Back this week, 18 carries for 83 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. His 30 career touchdowns or rushing touchdowns now has him tied at the top of that list for U-Pike. And hey, he's just a sophomore. Lots more to come. Xavier Malone, 30 of 46 passing, but only 216 passing yards. Yes, we'll talk about that in the Bet the Barn segment. 2 passing touchdowns through no picks. For Kentucky Christian, though, in the loss, Jackson Wasik, 25 of 42 for 390 yards. He's a sophomore. Don't forget about this team. I know I mentioned it just about every week. Coach Aubrey's team keeps on improving. Wasik's just a sophomore. He threw 4 touchdowns, 1 pick, had 2 rushing touchdowns as well. And Jalen Briscoe and Javion Martin combined for 3 touchdowns, 14 catches on the night. Reinhardt gets another win, and boy, do they. 69-10 over Point. Ja Colbert, 12 carries, 152 rushing yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns. And that sets up the game next week. It's all on the line in the Appalachian, Pikeville and Reinhardt for the conference title and the AQ. Rio Grande still winless on the season, 0-9 now. A loss to Bluefield. It was homecoming in Bluefield, so the Rams come up with a victory. Ethan Cash, 3 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown, and Kyrie Edwards had a rushing touchdown for Bluefield as well. To the Mid-South, Campbellsville, 38, Bethel, 9. This series, interestingly enough, is tied all time. 22 meetings, 11-11. The 2 teams have each won 11 contests in this matchup. So it's not something that just tied after 2 games. It's tied after 22. Pretty good history between these two. Campbellsville's Ashton Ocker ran back the opening kickoff. I don't need these anymore. Ran back the opening kickoff, 98 yards for a touchdown. And then they scored 31 straight to go up at the half, 31-0. Jet Engel, 12 of 18 passing, 196 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks on the day. Trey Bass, 11 carries, 124 rushing yards, had a rushing touchdown and a receiving touchdown too. The defense got on the act too with 7 sacks and forcing 2 turnovers. It is Campbellsville versus Georgetown next week, and we've already talked about the fact that the win-to-win ratio, Georgetown to Campbellsville win-loss ratio, they're 6-1 all-time in the series. 30-5 all-time are the Tigers. Lindsey Wilson stays alive for an automatic bid opportunity. However, the Blue Raiders are not in control of their own destiny. 56-37 the win over Cumberland. Cumberland 5-5 on the year, and the Phoenix have had a good season, a pretty good season. We'll talk about some numbers here in just a moment, but I mean, the loss to Tennessee Tech doesn't look as bad now. I don't know if you've seen that. Tennessee Tech 10-0 on the year. So taking on not only Division I program, but a Division I program that had a pretty good season. Total offense in this one combined 1,161 yards between the two. Lindsey Wilson, 605 total offense yards on the day, and they did it behind a great game from Tay Saunders, 14 carries, 299 rushing yards, 3 rushing touchdowns, 73, 69, 45 on the day. He set a school record for single-game rushing in this with those 299 rushing yards. Also, a new single-season rushing record, 1,440 rushing yards so far for Tay Saunders. And we know there's going to be at least 1 more game, likely 2 more games, no matter what the outcome next weekend. And I realize it could all completely, go to pot, but I just don't see that coming. I think Lindsey Wilson's moving on. I'm even going to say win or lose, but we'll talk about that more later. The defense forced 3 interceptions and a fumble. Cameron Rankins had 12 tackles on the night and a fumble recovery. And for Cumberland, Jake Parker throwing the ball well, 24 of 37 passing, 388 passing yards. Hey, there's another record. That was a record for Cumberland, 3 touchdowns through 3 picks as well. Didn't work out well for him with the interceptions. And Caden Hatchett, 8 catches for 205 receiving yards, also a Phoenix record. So record set all over the place in this one. Rushing for Lindsey Wilson, passing for Cumberland. Georgetown 35, Cumberland's 28. Georgetown trailed 28-20 going into the final quarter and scored the final 15 points in that final 15 minutes. Guy Bailey for Georgetown, 13 carries, 181 rushing yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. Big game next week between Campbellsville and Georgetown. To the Mid-States Football Association, and we've already mentioned there could be 3-way ties up at the top depending upon what happens in this final weekend coming up. Meanwhile, Indiana Wesleyan, 49-3 Saturday over Lawrence Tech. Isaac Smith, also a record setter, 5 catches for 146 receiving yards, had a receiving touchdown, a rushing touchdown. He's now the Wildcats' all-time leader in receptions with 201 and receiving touchdowns with 33 of those. Arjun Lothe with 310 passing yards. Yes, that will come up in the Bet the Barn segment as well. 2 passing touchdowns for the Wildcats, who are now 8-2 on the season, heading into a matchup with Siena Heights at Siena Heights. And by the way, Siena Heights at Taylor came up with the L on Saturday. Losing to Taylor 42-28. Taylor now with the win at 6-4 has back-to-back winning seasons. So it comes down to this in the Mideast, Indiana Wesleyan and Siena Heights. The Wildcats, the only one in complete control of their own destiny. Siena Heights is going to have some interesting things happen with the three-way tie right there. Defiance 56-34 over Madonna. Defiance stopped a 7-game losing streak. Kristen Thomas, the first Yellow Jacket this season to put 3 touchdowns on the board in a game, 10 carries for 109 rushing yards, and those aforementioned 3 rushing touchdowns. Jay Graves had a 43-yard pick 6 for the Yellow Jackets as well. Madonna now 1-9 on the season. St. Xavier is 6-3 after a 21-14 win over Olivet Nazarene. Dominic D'Ambrosio, he was one of our top 5 performers last week, to Mario Price for 49 yards, a touchdown with 1:40 remaining in the fourth quarter, and Carter Wynn with a 2-point conversion run for the win. St. Xavier takes on Marion next week. A lot on the line in that one. St. Xavier could win and force a 3-way tie if St. Francis wins also. But a lot would have to happen in that to get the victory. Marion, meanwhile, is 9-1 and continues to add to its already impressive winning streak this season. 62-0. They shut out Judson, and the Eagles go to 0-10. Each team had a streak coming in. Both streaks continued with this. Judson, its losing streak continues now at 19, and Marion's winning streak continues now at 9 after having losing. They lost after they lost in the season opener to UIndy, a very good Division II program as well. Tristan Polk for the Knights, only 5 of 7 passing. They didn't need him out there for that long. 97 yards, 3 passing touchdowns. 60% of his completed passes went for touchdowns. That's a stat you don't see very often. He threw no picks on the day. And Jack Reichard had another touchdown catch for his career. St. Francis, Indiana, with the win over St. Francis, Illinois in this one. The Cougars go to 9-2 now on the season, 8-1 all-time in the series with the Fighting Saints. Joshua Kolka, 22 of 32 passing for 334 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 pick on the day. And Azariah Wallace had 2 more touchdowns. They were rushing touchdowns. He carried the ball 23 times for 101 yards. To the heart, Benedictine and Baker. We talked about this a little bit earlier. Baker owns a 21-19 lead all-time in the series, but Benedictine made it that much closer. 40th meeting between the two. And again, this is one really close series. Benedictine with an 8-game winning streak right now. Jackson Dooley, 8 of 17 for 119 passing, threw for 1 touchdown. And Xavier Ugorji had 2 more touchdowns. They were rushing touchdowns, 25 carries, 198 yards on the day. Grandview in the north locks up its spot in the playoffs with an automatic bid, 62-7 over Culver Stockton. It is now a 69-game regular season winning streak. Jackson Waring, 7 of 20 passing for 171 yards on the day, 4 touchdowns, threw no picks. He carried the ball 6 times for 55 yards and had a rushing touchdown as well. William Penn, they're 9-1 with a 59-20 victory over Graceland. The Yellow Jackets fall to 3-6 on the year. William Penn was 4-6 in 2023, 4-6 in 2024. The coach, Mark Benavidez, he needed year 3, and that's when it's happened. 9 wins this year. First time for the Yellow Jackets to have 9 wins in a season since 2012. Sterling Ramsey, the second, the senior, 13 for 21 passing, 334 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and rush for a touchdown as well. Destin Loring had 3 rushing touchdowns for his part, 26 carries for 167 yards. And for Graceland, TJ Shanks, the freshman, not a bad afternoon, 24 of 50 passing for 340 yards, threw 2 touchdowns, and rushed for 1 more. And Charles has said Graceland will be an interesting team next year, and that will be interesting as well. Looking forward to seeing how this all turns out. Also looking forward to seeing how everything turns out for Gerald Monroe as the season is starting to wind down. I'm sure he's still getting a lot of good looks. There have been some changes all the way through from coaches to quarterbacks and everything else. Looking forward to seeing how this turns out in the offseason. Peru State, 27. St. Ambrose 24. The Fighting Bees 3-game winning streak comes to an end. They were up 21-0 after the first quarter, and then Peru State just came back and for the first time in a long time won the turnover battle and won the game. Station Livingstone 25 carries, 126 yards, and had 1 rushing touchdown for the Bobcats, and Peru State is at 5-5 on the year. Clark with a 27-23 victory in the first meeting ever with William Woods. Clark at now at 2-8 on the year. Carson Estrada to Isaac Guerrero for a 6-yard touchdown pass, culminating in an 80-yard touchdown drive, 2.5 remaining in the fourth quarter. That proved to be the game winner. Caleb Perry, 34 carries, 181 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. Mid-America Nazarene 7-3, now with the win over Missouri Valley. 45-14, Mid-America Nazarene has won 7 straight in the series. Drew Miller continuing to have a solid season at quarterback for the Pioneers. 12-22 passing, 145 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. And Samuel Gonzalez had one of those touchdown catches. And if you haven't seen this one online, you ought to check out the Mid-America Nazarene Twitter page. Catch that reception. It is fantastic. Probably the only thing better on the day was the Indiana Hoosiers and Fernando Mendoza to Omar Cooper in the closing minutes of this game. The comeback for Indiana, I mean, this really is a special team this year. And that got all the looks, seemed like all day long on television, social media, and more. And rightfully so, it deserved it, as Indiana definitely snatched victory from the jaws of defeat against Penn State in this game. Shout out, by the way, Division I for just a moment. Shout out to Penn State for playing with them. It's been a rough season for the Nittany Lions, but wow, what Indiana is doing right now is fantastic. If you haven't seen the Gonzalez catch for Mid-America Nazarene, it's similar. The other one I would say is a little bit better, but yes, that was a crazy toe tap catch, Robert. Absolutely. I just want to give a shout out to Gonzalez for that. And I got to see them up close and personal all the way back in week 1. He was making great catches then. He continues to do that for the Pioneers. Missouri Baptist 21, Central Methodist 9. The Spartans 3-0 all-time in this series. The teams combined for 5 interceptions, and the Central Methodist touchdown came on a missed field goal, which was returned 70 yards for the score by Travion Horrell. To the GPAC. And by the way, it's always a good time. I think I stop at the GPAC every time to take a drink there, so we'll do that right now. It also gives me a chance to say, hey, thanks for watching tonight. I think that our community in the chat is great, and I really appreciate getting to visit you all the time. Maybe you're new to the channel, you're just stepping in right now. Give it a sub. We would appreciate that. Subscribe to the channel and just be a part of what's going in, and get in on the chat as well, because it really is a great community where we get to talk about teams that we know people like here. As for instance, Robert is a fan of Concordia. Concordia, however, lost. Sorry about that, Robert. 56-20, 8th straight win of the series for Dort. And the defenders had a lot to play for in this one. Colton Cruz, by the way, back in at quarterback. There's been some changes in and out there. He was in there the bulk of the time. 11 for 18 passing, 195 passing yards, 1 touchdown, and he had a rushing touchdown on top of that. Daniel Dickerson, 12 carries, 97 yards, and had 4 rushing touchdowns on the day against the Bulldogs. And from Concordia, well, Johnny Pels had a good afternoon, 5 catches, 84 yards, 1 receiving touchdown there too. And we'll go ahead and we'll drop this one up there. I have to say, I knew it would be a fight and not an easy task, but seriously got whooped. Well, Dort's good this year, and there's really no way around that. Dort is just good this year, and they finally got in the offense with the defense. I don't know. I mentioned it on Thursday night, and I have no reason to change that right now. But just if I had a vote for, Coach of the Year as of this point, and now again, here we are in week 11, I don't think I'd change anything. I would say Joel Pinner from Dort would be my top pick. If I had to pick 3, 2A and 2B would be Terry Harrison from Friends and Kyle Sampson from Montana Tech. There you go. They've done a lot with what they have and have made a lot and have improved their program to get to this point. And it's just been impressive to get to watch. Morningside, 63, Mount Marty, 20. Fifth meeting between these two schools. Morningside's won all 5 and scored at least 40 in each one of the wins. 626 yards of total offense, Dave, on a day when we know it was snowy, and they still racked up the yards offensively. Zach Chevalier, 18 for 24, 314 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Ty Kozad, 17 carries, 211 rushing yards, and 1 rushing touchdown. By the way, also Jalen Burks, 16 rushes, 97 yards, 3 rushing touchdowns. A big day on the ground, but still, Chevalier with 3 touchdown passes too. Man, they got it going in Sioux City on this one. Moshe Richmond from Mount Marty had 6 catches for 182 yards, 2 receiving touchdowns in the loss. So, yeah, Robert's going to be watching the Morningside Dordt game. I think a lot of us are going to be watching that Morningside Dordt game, as a matter of fact. I'll be doing it from Texas. I'll tell you about that programming note a little bit later. Northwestern, 51, Doane, 20. Northwestern's won 9 straight in this series. Colby Duncan continues to improve over the course of the year, and that's been a big part of Northwestern's success as well. 13 for 23 passing, 335 passing yards, 5 passing touchdowns, threw a pick as well, but had a rushing touchdown too on the day, 9 carries for 49 yards. I know I've mentioned this name, but I'm going to mention it again because I think it's someone who's going to stick around, and maybe hopefully we'll get a chance to interview this person on the summit sometime soon. Gianna Bennett, 7 for 7 point afters. She's a redshirt freshman, and yes, I did use the proper pronoun there. She's a redshirt freshman, 23 of 26 on point after attempts for the season, and in 7 of 8 games coming in, 8 of 9 games coming in, she was 100% in point after attempts. 7 for 11 field goals as well. Solid kicker for Northwestern, a name you need to remember. Midland, 45, Dakota Wesleyan, 7. The Warriors are now at 5-5 on the season. Brody Johnson had another solid day, 11 for 22 passing, 113 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, and a pick. He had a rushing touchdown too. Tyson Dankert did not have a rushing touchdown, but he did have 28 carries for 246 yards. He's now the all-time career leader in rushing for Midland. 3,370 yards rushing. That breaks a 28-year-old record. Briar Cliff has a winning season. Second time in program history that's happened. 6-5 now on the year. Briar Cliff, the Chargers won 28-12 at Waldorf. Waldorf now has an NAIA leading 23-game losing streak. But for Briar Cliff, 6-5, also 6-5 back in 2018. Only 2 times that they've had winning records. Shout out to the Chargers this year for that. To the KCAC, Evangel, 51, Bethel, nothing. Eric Williams II, 20 carries for 106 rushing yards. He led the way for his team in that category, 2 rushing touchdowns. He also was the leading receiver with 7 catches for 76 yards and a receiving touchdown as well. Tabor, 40, Bethany, 7. AJ King, 7 catches. Wow, he has just been fantastic this year. 146 yards, 3 receiving touchdowns. He also had a 92-yard punt return for a touchdown on the day. Ottawa is winning in this one, 5-5 on the year now, 37-0 over Avila. Jordan Clay with 11 carries, 107 rushing yards, and rushing touchdown. They even their record at 500 as well. Kansas Wesleyan, the big win in the KCAC on Saturday as the Coyotes upset McPherson 20-17. The only score of the second half, it was Henry Ostad to DeHeaven Domina, an 11-yard touchdown pass with 57 seconds left. What's big about that, too, not only the time when it happened, but it had been a scoreless second half. McPherson was winning. You hold on and hold off the Coyotes for one more drive, and they couldn't do it. It was a drive that was a 12-play, 93-yard touchdown drive, took 3:59 off the clock, left very little time for McPherson to do something afterward. Domina was dominant, and that's, I don't know, I don't think I get to trademark that at all. I'm sure the folks in Kansas Wesleyan have been saying it for a while, but there you go. It was an even game throughout. The final drive meant everything. Shout out to the Yotes, who are now 7-3. McPherson, 8-2. And a team that we felt like here was locked to be an at-large bid, probably still is going to be in, but I wouldn't use the word lock right now after the loss to Kansas Wesleyan. Friends, 66, Sterling 7. That's a lock. Friends locked up its spot with the AQ on this one. 10-0 on the season now. And Friends is 52, 28, and 1 all time in this series. 2 punt returns for touchdowns in the game for the Falcons. And you usually talk about the ground game a lot, but it was special teams. Michael Lopez, an 80-yard punt return. Walker Overman, a 66-yard punt return. And the Falcons, again, are 10-0. Southwestern 53, St. Mary 21. The Mound Builders have won 7 straight in this series. Jamie Odom continuing to do well as Southwestern, again, 7-3 on the year. Odom was 21 of 35 passing, another 60-plus passing yard game, 60-plus% passing game. Say that again. He threw and completed 60% of his passes, 380 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, 1 pick, had 12 carries for 91 yards and a rushing touchdown too. And another week in which Joe Smythe has a stat line, 19 carries, 190 rushing yards. He was the leading rusher, 2 rushing touchdowns, 4 receptions, 91 receiving yards. He was the leading receiver, 2 receiving touchdowns. Big afternoon again for Joe Smythe. Southwestern gets the win, and they go to 7-3. To the Sooner Athletic Conference, where Texas Wesleyan melted down in the fourth quarter, probably as big as any team that we've seen this year. Up 35-21, and OUAZ, now 8-0 on the year, gets the 42-35 victory as the Spirit scored the final 21 points of the game. And where Texas Wesleyan looks like it has it wrapped up, well, there was an interception. OUAZ gets it back, finds a way to score. Texas Wesleyan still with the ball, driving down the field and looking solid. And then the fumble, just laid the ball on the turf. OUAZ gets it back, gets the score. It's tied at 35 all. And then Texas Wesleyan driving again. Surely can't go wrong 3 straight times, but it did. Clayshawn Davis with a 51-yard pick 6 for the game-winning touchdown. Luke Giron, 23 of 41 passing, 299 passing yards, 4 passing touchdowns, a pick, and 20 carries for 61 yards and a rushing touchdown as well. The Spirit control their own destiny, beat Louisiana Christian on Saturday. You get the AQ and represent the conference, automatic qualifying bid, and win the conference outright. Shout out to my favorite Southeastern quarterback at the moment. Now you're gonna have to do a lot to get of all time, Colton, because there's some pretty good Southeastern quarterbacks out there. But right now, my favorite current Southeastern quarterback. Shout out to Colton Howard. Thanks for watching tonight. We continue with the Sooner Athletic Conference. Nelson 55, Langston 50 in double overtime. For Nelson, it stopped a 5-game losing streak as the Lions get the win against their most often played opponent. They've now won 4 of 23 matchups against Langston, as Nelson could have won in regulation, scoring on a Darius Evans 14-yard touchdown run, but the point after was missed, sending things to overtime, 37-all. We've talked about that. You don't miss those extra points. Good things rarely happen after that, but for Nelson, actually it did. Judah Holzclaw to Zach Fuller twice, once in first overtime, once in the second overtime. It was a 4-yard touchdown in the second overtime, and Holzclaw ran in the 2-point conversion for the difference ultimately in the game. 52-50, Holzclaw 18 for 28 passing, 201 passing yards, 5 touchdowns and a pick. Carried the ball 25 times for 74 yards as well. Zach Fuller had 2 receiving touchdowns, both after regulation, 5 catches for 48 yards through the air. And Aiden Hooper in the losing effort, 27 of 48 passing, 301 yards, 5 touchdowns through no picks on the day. Texas College picks up its first win of the season, 34-21 over Oklahoma Panhandle State. Arkansas Baptist falls to Louisiana Christian in this one. The Wildcats have a solid effort from Datlin Cunningham, 7 carries for 105 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. Jatarius Johnson, 7 carries, 68 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. Edward Scott, 4 receptions for 74 yards, 2 receiving touchdowns, but that wasn't the one that's going to make our final segment tonight. Kylon Polk, 4 tackles, 4 interceptions, and that includes a 53-yard pick 6. 4 interceptions. For perspective, Arkansas Baptist had 2 players that caught caught 4 passes as well. Their 2 leading receivers each caught 4 passes. Kylon Polk caught as many passes from Arkansas Baptist quarterback as the two leading receivers did. There's your perspective on that game. To the Frontier, Montana Tech 31, Dickinson State 7. Montana Tech has now a 15-game regular season winning streak, and the Diggers were up 31-0 at the half. Jarrett Wilson, 11 of 16 passes for 116 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, rushed for a touchdown as well. And to our, I believe now, federally mandated Levi Torgerson segment, he had 7 catches for 45 yards, 2 receiving touchdowns. He also threw a 34-yard touchdown pass. In 2025, Levi Torgerson, I'm going to say this again. In 2025, Levi Torgerson is 4 for 4 passing for 71 yards, has thrown 3 touchdown passes. Torgerson has as many passing touchdowns this season by himself as Waldorf, and has just 1 fewer passing touchdown than Mayville State or Simpson. Currently, Levi Torgerson is tied for 105th in the NAIA in passing touchdowns. For perspective on that, there are only 94 teams that play football in the NAIA, so he's just less than most of the starting quarterbacks in the NAIA. Did I mention Levi Torgerson is a receiver for Montana Tech? That's important and pertinent information. 31-7, the Diggers are now 10-0 on the year and have locked up the AQ out of the Frontier East. College of Idaho locks up the AQ out of the Frontier West. 36-13, victory over Carroll. Big time win in that one. Total offense, College of Idaho had 414 yards on the day. Carroll had 125 yards of total offense, and that includes a net -7 rushing yards on the day. Solid defense for the Yoke. Good offense for Caden Young, 11 of 17 passing, 140 passing yards, 1 touchdown, had 2 rushing touchdowns as well. Riley Byington, 33 carries on the day, 2 rushing touchdowns. And get this, he had 198 yards rushing. With 33 carries, 198 yards, you think, maybe they got him in the backfield once. No negative yardage. An amazing day for Riley Byington. Caden Hewitt, 13 carries or 13 passes, 30. Are we at that point in the program? We'll start again. Caden Hewitt, 13 of 32 passing for 132 yards. He didn't throw a touchdown pass. Instead, he threw 3 interceptions. That's a big part of Carroll's day right there. Peter Minert, 4 carries, -3 rushing yards, but he did have a rushing touchdown. Connor Sullivan had a 67-yard punt return for a touchdown on the day as well. 2 touchdowns scored for the Saints, only one of them offensive. It was a rough day for Carroll. They fall to 7-2 now in the year. I think there is still a solid opportunity for the Saints to get an at-large bid, but the Yotes are going to get the AQ. Dakota State, 7-2 as well. I also think they deserve recognition coming out of the Frontier East. This is a quality Dakota State team. 38-7, they beat Rocky Mountain on Saturday. Second meeting between these two. The only other matchup was a Dakota State win back when I was 1 year old in 1972. It was 40-12 then. It was a 28-point victory then, a 31-point victory now. Preston Iverson, 17 carries to lead his team in rushing with 83 yards. He was also the leading receiver with 3 catches for 71 yards and had a receiving touchdown. For Dakota State, the defense stepped up, forcing 4 interceptions, also forcing 5 fumbles and recovering 2 of those. Tamarian Foster had a 65-yard pick 6 on the day. Valley City State 13-7 over Montana State Northern in the first meeting between these two programs, and there was 411 offensive yards combined. Now, you can't blame it on the cold in this one. It was actually a pleasant afternoon in Havre. There were lots of places that were much colder and had much more inclement weather on the day, but only 411 yards of total offense for the two teams combined. Montana Western gets the big win over Arizona Christian, 66-14. Michael Palandri broke his own single-game touchdown passing record. He threw 8 on the day, 19 of 24 for 423 yards, 8 touchdowns, no picks, and he beat the record that he set last year also against Arizona Christian. Eli North, 7 catches, 154 yards receiving, 1 receiving touchdown. Seth Shook, 3 catches, 117 yards receiving, 2 receiving touchdowns. Jacob Humphrey, 9 carries for 73 yards, 2 catches for 80 yards. That included a 70-yard touchdown for him. And Keegan Movich, 12 tackles on the day. That is the high for the team. It's the season finale for Montana Western. They're at 7-3, so they're done, and now they're waiting to see what happens. Simpson fell to Eastern Oregon in this one. For Eastern Oregon, 34 points, the most this season, and it's the most since they scored 61 against Simpson last year. Elia Karisimasi, 23 of 35 passing, 307 yards, 3 touchdowns thrown. He also rushed for a touchdown as well. For Simpson, it is now an 18-game losing streak. So we have gone through the entire slate, all the way through the penultimate weekend of the season in the NAIA. Week 11 now in the books. And let's talk quickly about our top performers from the week. The top 5 performances for week 11. And let's get the graphic up right here. And there it is. Joe Smythe, he's back on that list again. He and Jamie Odom, a fantastic afternoon for them. And you know what? I think, I'll have to go back and find that individually. Jamie Odom, 21 of 35 passing, 308 passing yards, 5 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown. Joe Smythe led his team in rushing and receiving and had 2 rushing touchdowns and 2 receiving touchdowns on the day. Colby Duncan with a big day for Northwestern again. Northwestern has improved over the course of the season, but the Red Raiders have improved, I believe, along with Colby Duncan's improvement as well. 13 of 23 passing for 335 passing yards, 5 touchdowns thrown, 1 rushing touchdown on the day. Shout out to Colby Duncan and to the Northwestern Red Raiders. Jackson Wasick in this one, and Wasick, I believe this was in the losing effort. Doesn't come out this way very often, but he had 4 passing touchdowns, 390 yards thrown for the day, 25 of 42 passing, that 390, 4 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns as well. Jackson Wasick, even in the losing effort, it was a close game against Pikeville, but just not quite enough. And we talked about this really quickly. This had to make our top 5 performances. Kylon Polk, 4 interceptions on the day, including a 53-yard pick 6. He takes that one to the house. He caught the ball as many times as any receiver who wore the same color uniform as the Arkansas Baptist quarterback. And Montana Western's Michael Palandri, 8 touchdown passes thrown on the day, 19 of 24, better than 75% passing on the day, 423 passing yards. An incredible afternoon for Michael Palandri. And that is a look at our top 5 performances on the day. As we look over, Matt, let's see here. I'm going to put it up there anyway because it's too funny. The Comets have only 80 passing attempts on the season. Yeah, okay, well, Matt, passing attempts, fat fingers on the phone keyboard. That is true. That is true. But still, you have to put Levi Torgerson's numbers up there too because he has only 4 passing attempts on the season. So, there is that. All right, let's go to our final segment tonight. We have to talk about what happened in our Bet the Barn segment. Well, it's not our final segment. It's going to be close. OUAZ, we're still shy of an hour. We'll keep it up and try to wrap things up quickly. The Bet the Barn segment, and we are going to put our winners up there. And our winners for this week, Matt, you were one of our winners. Matt, one of 4 winners on the day. Charles Brooks, Matt Herman. Did I get both T's on there? I think I did. Leovitz and Robert Whalen all got 3 of the 4 right this week in our Bet the Barn segment. So let's look at those really, really quickly. And here we go. The first one, our OUAZ at Texas Wesleyan, 62.5 points. Those of you who took the over on this one, 77 points on that one. Charles, you know what? We'll send that turkey leg your way. We'll definitely send that turkey leg your way. 77 points, man, I thought it might be a low one, but, it proved obviously to be a low. They took the over on that one. And if I can get that right on this one, let's see. We all took the over. We were all right. That was what was important about that. We all took the over on that one. All right. Let's see. Next one is, who's going to have the most passing yards? Well, we know I took Xavier Malone on this one, and I was clearly wrong. Xavier Malone had only 216 passing yards. His team scored 51 points. You would think with a 51-point output for the Bears that it was going to be a little bit different look there, and it absolutely was not. He threw for only 216 yards, 2 touchdowns. Arjun Lothe, 310 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. But no, Zach Chevalier, 314 passing yards. I wonder if Chevalier was watching this program, knew the number he had to get, and threw just enough on that one. That's actually didn't happen. But, you just have to think about these things. All right, the next one, let's see. There were only, who all got that one, as a matter of fact? Dave, Leo, Robert, Matt, and Charles each got that one right as well. So the next one up, this one, and you may remember on Thursday, I actually said I had this originally at 40.5, and I decided to up the line to 44 points. Wow. 41 points scored in this game. We'd be pretty close on this one. I was pleased with that line when it was all said and done. And how many people took the under on this one? Only 2. Robert and Matt were the only 2 who would be under on that one and got those points. So there we go on that one. And finally, which Caden is going to account for more points in this one, for more touchdowns in this one? And those of you who took Caden Young from College of Idaho as opposed to Caden Hewitt, well, you would be right. And the numbers, clearly favor Caden Young in this one. Caden Young accounted for 3 touchdowns, 1 passing touchdown, 2 rushing touchdowns. Caden Hewitt accounted for no touchdowns. On top of that, threw 3 interceptions. So, wow, that's kind of frustrating. Anyway, that's how it all played out. So, again, our winners for the week were Charles and Matt and Leo and Robert. I said that was the last segment. Can we stick around for just a little bit longer on this one? You'd rather see Benedictine win than the bets? Yeah, that's fine. But we all got it right. No, I'm sorry. We all got right the other one. So there we go. All right. Here we go. Let's make it to our final segment here, which let's talk just really quickly. Okay, wrong notes. Let's talk really quickly. Friends, punch the ticket to go to the playoffs. Evangel, punch the ticket to go to the playoffs. College of Idaho, Montana Tech, Grandview, Kaiser, Benedictine still can be in a 3-way tie. However, I believe that Benedictine would have the tiebreaker in that one. So no worries on that one if you're Benedictine. Leo, I think it's all looking good for you and for your team right there. All the way through, we can bring that graphic back up if it's still here. Yeah, let's bring that one back up. We'll go in reverse order this time. Kaiser has it already made. OUAZ is going to play Louisiana Christian. Louisiana Christian, let's talk about this one for just a moment. Louisiana Christian needs to win to force a 3-way tie. They did this 2 years ago and had to win by 10 to get the automatic bid. Not only to win to force the 3-way tie, they had to win by 10 to get the automatic bid. All Texas Wesleyan had to do was win or lose by only 9. And Louisiana Christian won 34-21, got the automatic bid to the playoffs. So here's how this one plays out. If OUAZ wins, they get the automatic bid. If Louisiana Christian wins, it forces a 3-way tie. But Louisiana Christian would have to win by 60 because it lost to Texas Wesleyan by 33 earlier. Texas Wesleyan already has a plus 26 in the point differential. So if Louisiana Christian wins and wins by less than 50 or by 59 or less, then Texas Wesleyan would have the win for the point differential on that one. So if you're Texas Wesleyan fans, you're cheering for the Wildcats up to a point. You don't want the Wildcats to beat OUAZ by 60 points. Does anyone actually believe that Louisiana Christian can beat OUAZ by 60 points? That's for you to decide. Campbellsville controls its own destiny, needs to get a win over Georgetown, and needs to shift the way that series has gone over the years. Mideast, Indiana Wesleyan, in control of its own destiny, win, and you get the AQ. Lose, and it becomes a 3-way tie, and, well, everything breaks out. Same thing for Marion. Win, you get the AQ over St. Xavier. Lose. Now, of course, I say that down here, Taylor would still have to win its final game. And in the Midwest, St. Francis of Indiana would still have to win its final game to make it a three-way tie. There's a lot more at play here. But if you're Indiana Wesleyan, you win, period. You get the AQ. Marion, you win, period. You get the AQ. Evangela and Friends have already earned their automatic qualifying bid. Grandview has. We believe Benedictine has as well. Dort and Morningside, this is how you set it up. You're all on the line right there. Win, and you get in. It is our belief at Midwest Sportsnet that the loser of this game will get in either way around. Montana Tech, College of Idaho, each have won their respective divisions, and Reinhardt and Pikeville, just like Dort and Morningside, win this one, and you get in. Lose in this one, though, however, the loser of this game will not be making it into the postseason. So there we have it. Let's talk about programming notes really, really quickly, and they are these. Our regular midweek show will not be on Thursday night this week, and our Sunday show is going to be a little bit different. And I know it's the final week of the season. It is a privilege to get to broadcast some other sporting events and to do it also for some other conferences. I'll get to be in Fort Worth on Friday and Saturday of this week to be on the call for Sooner Athletic Conference volleyball. So I'll get to be there for the semis and for the championship. And so there, it's going to be a little bit of driving, but I believe I'm going to get to watch part of the Wayland Baptist Texas Wesleyan season finale there. So still on the line for Texas Wesleyan. You know, they still have to beat Wayland Baptist if they want to make it a three-way tie if Louisiana Christians wins. So Texas Wesleyan still has something to play for, but it's going to take a little bit. But Thursday night of this week, my twins are going to be performing on campus here at Southeastern, and it's the only night I'll get to watch them. So we're moving our midweek show to Wednesday this week. Moving the midweek show to Wednesday this week. Robert, I know that means you're probably out, but that's all right. So we're moving the midweek show to Wednesday. All right. Then Sunday, I'll leave Fort Worth, and I'll travel to Searcy, Arkansas. We'll be on the call for the Great American Conference women's soccer championship, and I'll be driving back from Searcy. So we'll probably stop and do a car video and talk about the teams who have made it in, but it won't be our regular Sunday night video. May do a Monday, may or may not, because the next week, programming note goes into that. We'll be on the call for Great American Conference volleyball Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and we'll be on the road on Wednesday night. So I believe it's going to be a Tuesday show next week is our midweek show, and then we'll do a Sunday night show again because I'll be home from volleyball. We'll give coverage from a lot of these places too, but it's going to be all shaken up. So we'll try to post in the community notes what the schedule is for the broadcast over the course of the next week. But I know that you guys are going to be a part of it, and I'm so thankful to get to see all of you all and all of you for being a part of our community here. Leo, thanks for being a part of the broadcast tonight, and Colton, thanks for coming on the show as well. Charles, Matt, thank you for being on the show tonight too. Robert, as always, thank you. Leo and Sean and Dave, all the way back at the beginning with his comments there. Thank you very much for being on the broadcast tonight. It is a fantastic night. I stayed warm in the jacket in here. The studio's a little cold. Robert, I know the cold front made it past you a little earlier, but it is down here now, and we actually have a freeze warning in effect. I know some of y'all probably laugh at that, but had to bring the plants inside. We don't get those freeze warnings all the time down here. So stayed warm here in the studio, and it's been a good night. So, Robert, thank you for watching tonight, and to everyone else for watching tonight. Leo, I understand what you say there. Have a great week. You have a great week, too, and we will we'll keep up with everyone over the course of the day. In the meantime, Robert's going to be out in the stand in the morning. Props to you on that. Charles, enjoy it, my friend. Enjoy it. All right. Shout out to everyone. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm going to let you guys go then. Thank you so much. Wednesday night. That is when the midweek show will be on this week. Have a great Sunday night. God bless you all. Great week to follow.